Whether it's fine cuisine or foreign policy, Germany and France rarely seem to agree on anything. But with the new 308, Peugeot certainly seems to have been taking a few notes from its friends across the border when it comes to building a 5-door family hatchback. The new 308 arrives with promises of greater fuel efficiency, a new scalable platform, and more onboard technology than ever before. But will it pass the VW Golf test? Well, we're here in a neutral land in Switzerland to find out. The conservative new exterior design is perhaps the biggest clue that Peugeot has set its sights on the best that Wolfsburg has to offer. Clean, simple lines and unfussy details mean that the 308 looks smart and modern, but it lacks the head-turning appeal of some rivals like the Seat Leon, for instance, and all traces of traditional French flair have been thoroughly sanitised. Even so, the standard LED headlights are really striking, as are the 5-spoke alloy wheels fitted to our top-spec test car. The new 308 sits on the same EMP2 modular platform as the Citroën C4 Picasso, and that means it's wider and lower than before, and it also has shorter overhangs for a more compact look. It also means that it's 140 kilos lighter than the old car, which is a huge amount of weight to lose. Take this boot lid, for example. It's made from a special thermoplastic that saves 3 kilos, and the extra space it creates inside means that this boot is 470 litres. That's nearly getting on for 100 litres more than a VW Golf, although the extra space is created also by a special compartment which is under the floorboards. However, there are some sacrifices to be made from all that extra space in the boot, and you'll find those in the rear seats. Now, I'm only of average height, but as you can see, it's quite snug in here, even for me. There's just about enough legroom, even with the big boot, but when I sit up straight, as you can see, my head is pretty much bent against the roof. That might be to do with the panoramic sunroof we've got on this high-spec model, but even so, it's certainly not great, and it's not as good as class leaders like the VW Golf and the Skoda Octavia. However, things do improve up front, and I'm going to show you the cabin now, because it is quite a sight. Here in the front, drivers are in for a real treat. The cockpit is really clean, clinical, simply laid out and easy to use. The materials are high quality as well, and all cars come with this 9.7-inch touchscreen display which controls all the major functions, including climate control, sat-nav and the infotainment system. It uses the same small steering wheel and pod-like dials from the 208, but this time they're a little bit easier to see, and in my driving position at least they don't obscure the dials at all, they're very easy to read. Anyway, let's take it for a drive and see what it's like. The 308 goes on sale in January next year, and from then there'll be a blue HDI version with a claimed 82 grams per kilometre and 91 mpg, if you can believe it, and also a range of 3-cylinder turbocharged petrols, which should help improve the overall range's economy and emissions. However, the model we're driving today is the top of the range turbo petrol 1.6. It's got 153 brake horsepower, and it's an engine we know well from the DS3 and other cars in the PSA range. It's nice and keen, responsive. Now I push the throttle, there's a good amount of thrust behind that thanks to a decent spread of torque from the turbo. However, it doesn't take long driving the 308 to tell that it's been set up with comfort in mind. The suspension feels very soft, and although the steering, which is quite quick, makes it feel darty and agile at first, the body control is not too great. If you turn too sharply into a corner, the car rolls and leans a little bit more than you'd like, certainly more than its closest competition. We've been on smooth roads today as well, but every time you do hit a bump, just like then, you can feel that the ride's a little uneven. You feel a bit too much patter and judder from the rear axle. And it's only going over big speed bumps, but it is something you notice, and certainly I think on a bumpier road, I'm not sure the ride would be as comfortable as it feels right now. It's certainly quiet and refined, but just left with a slight suspicion that the 308 might not be set up perfectly for UK roads. Still, the driving environment's very nice, and on the move, this touchscreen works very well. You don't have to concentrate too hard, and it's fairly easy to control all the major functions. Changing the temperature or the climate control, for example, is only 2-button touch. However, some of the plastics in here do feel like a bit of a letdown. There's nice soft touch material up here, but then lower down, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's really hard, scratchy plastic, and just makes the cabin feel a little bit cheap. When it looks this good, you want it to feel good as well, and I think the 308 probably lacks that feel-good factor that makes you think maybe it won't feel as well screwed together a couple of months after you've bought it, which is a shame because overall we like the design. The new Peugeot 308 betters its predecessor in almost every single way, so it's just a shame that that's not enough to transform it into a true class contender. Although the modern, stylish cabin certainly has its plus points, and the massive boot makes it practical, those cramped rear seats, the bland design, and sadly some patchy driving dynamics mean it's no more than an also-ran in this highly competitive class. When the efficient diesels arrive in January, they're sure to be a hit with fleet buyers, but this petrol version feels a little off the pace, which is a shame for Peugeot, because this feels like an opportunity missed to teach the Germans a lesson or two.